Claire is 57. She's a nurse in Ohio. She's been working full-time since her early 20s. She did what she was supposed to do. She saved. She bought a home. She stayed employed. She planned to retire at 60. Last year, she ran the numbers again and realized she couldn't. Not because she made a mistake, but because the math underneath her plan changed. So if retirement feels like it quietly slipped out of reach, you're not imagining it. For many people now, retirement doesn't feel like a normal stage of life. It doesn't feel like something you expect or plan for. It feels like something that belonged to a different timeline. That's because the system that made retirement normal was quietly redesigned. Retirement used to be an institutional arrangement, not a personal goal. Companies promised defined benefits. Governments backed stable income in old age. Risk was pooled across time and across people. That pooling mattered more than it sounds like. When risk is pooled, individual timing stops mattering. It doesn't matter if you retire in a recession or a boom. It doesn't matter if markets underperform for several years. It doesn't matter if you live longer than expected. The system absorbs those differences across millions of people and many decades. That's what made retirement predictable. Then that structure was replaced. Defined benefit pensions were closed. Employers shifted to defined contribution plans. Retirement income became tied to individual contributions, individual investment choices, and individual exposure to market cycles. That changed the nature of retirement. It stopped being something the system delivered and became something the individual had to assemble. This is the core shift. Retirement stopped being something the system produces and became something the individual has to build inside an unstable environment. This is what that shift looks like in practice. Claire's retirement no longer depends on a formula. It depends on the market the year she stops working. It depends on whether inflation spikes before or after she retires. It depends on whether her savings have a bad sequence early on. She didn't become irresponsible. Her retirement became probabilistic. But individuals cannot pool risk across generations. They cannot smooth volatility across millions of participants. And they cannot protect themselves from retiring during a bad market cycle in the way institutions can. So retirement turned from a guaranteed process into a probabilistic one. Once that happened, the next support quietly weakened. Housing used to flatten your costs over time. You bought a home. You paid it down. Over decades, housing went from your largest expense to a small one. That meant your living costs declined as your income declined. That convergence is what made retirement financially possible for ordinary households. That function changed. Housing became financialized. Prices stopped converging toward affordability and started behaving like investment assets. Rents rose faster than incomes. Mortgage terms stretched longer. Refinancing replaced payoff. Instead of becoming cheaper as you aged, housing stayed expensive or became more expensive. That removes the fixed cost floor retirement depends on. So instead of Claire's housing getting lighter over time, it stayed heavy. Her mortgage didn't disappear. Her taxes rose. Her insurance rose. Maintenance rose. Her largest cost never flattened. That's not a personal budgeting issue. That's a structural one. Without stable housing costs, you cannot forecast future spending. Without forecastable spending, you cannot plan income. Without that, retirement becomes structurally fragile, even if your savings grow. Up to this point, retirement disappeared because the supports were removed. From here on, it disappears because the risks become unmanageable. Longer life used to be a gift. Then it became a financial exposure. As life expectancy increased, so did the number of years people might need medical care or reduced working capacity. But healthcare financing moved in the opposite direction. Instead of becoming more pooled and predictable, it became more fragmented, individualized, and opaque. Costs shifted from institutions to individuals. Coverage became conditional. Out-of-pocket exposure increased. Pricing became harder to forecast. That means the tail risk of aging is now private. And tail risk breaks planning. Claire doesn't know whether her healthcare will cost $5,000 a year or $50,000. She doesn't know whether she'll be healthy at 70 or need care at 62. She doesn't know how long she'll live, so she can't define enough. You can plan for average expenses. You can plan for expected returns. You cannot plan for an open-ended risk that can arrive at any time, last indefinitely, and cost anything. Once that exists, the future stops having a stable edge. People stop defining enough. They stop targeting a finish line. They remain financially exposed because the system no longer provides a safe stopping point. Once risk is unbounded, the broader environment matters much more. Retirement only works inside a calm system. Low volatility, slow change, stable prices, stable rules. That is not what the modern economy produces. Prices reset faster than wages. Insurance shifts risk back onto users. Market swings change income trajectories late in life. That means future living conditions become contingent. You don't retire into a stable environment. You retire into whatever the system happens to look like at that moment, and whatever it becomes afterward. That makes retirement feel less like a stage and more like a bet. So people delay. They hedge. They keep working. They stay flexible. Not because they love work, but because the system no longer offers a stable place to step into. Put together, this changes what retirement is. It used to be a system feature, a designed outcome, a normal transition. Now it's an individual project inside an unstable environment. Risk is no longer pooled. Costs are no longer predictable. Aging is no longer buffered. The future is no longer anchored. Nothing failed. The conditions that made retirement normal were removed. Quietly, gradually, structurally. Claire didn't fail retirement. Retirement was redesigned around her. So retirement didn't collapse. It was redesigned out of default existence. That's why it feels like it's not even on the table anymore. Not because you did something wrong, but because the system stopped offering it as a standard path. This isn't a personal shortcoming. It's a structural change. Thank you for watching. For more videos explaining how these systems work, subscribe.